electric vehicles, drones, electric aircraft, they all have the very one bottleneck: batteries and its capacity. Today, we are bringing you Amprius Technologies, who have developed breakthrough battery in the terms of energy density. Hey up everyone, welcome to Martyn Lucas Investor. I'm Vaz. Do you know what time it is? Time to start talking eVTOLs actually, because we know, and I will not try to get too ahead, but we know that Amprius are involved directly in the eVTOL market. But it's not only the eVTOL market, we are talking electric vehicles, we are talking drones, space, and more. But let's not get too ahead. So today we are looking at a company claiming energy density approaching 450 watt-hours per kilogram. I will put this into context very shortly. What you can see here is the chart. This is the pre-market candles. Here are the pre-market candles. The earnings starts in about 10 minutes. I am monitoring this. We will go right to the earnings. Let me just quickly check if the feed is coming through. Yes, I'm listening in. I'm listening in. So we will not going to miss it. Once they start, we will go right to the studio and we will join the earnings call. By then, I would like to explain and elaborate the significance of this breakthrough technology. So the company is Amprius Technologies, as already mentioned, and they are about to report their latest earnings. By the way, we brought you their previous earnings as well. And those who follow Amprius, you will see massive surprise and massive upside. So before we get into the call, let's quickly look at what Amprius actually does, why their technology is attracting attention and investors, and how their financial growth has been developing. And what Amprius does. Let's start with what Amprius actually does. Most lithium-ion batteries today use graphite anodes. Amprius have developed their own unique technology. They have developed silicon anodes, and they promise much better and greater energy density and capacity as well. So in simple terms, more energy is stored in the same weight of battery. Let me put it this way. And that's why Amprius focuses on markets where performance and weight matters more than the cost. We are talking drones, we are talking defense, we are talking space, unmanned aircraft, and flying taxis as well. For comparison, I will get to that at the end of the video, but just to put two numbers into perspective: Tesla, 250 watt-hours, 250 to 300 watt-hours per kilogram. Amprius, up to 450. How about that? Up to 50% upside, upper hand over market-leading battery manufacturer Tesla as well. So just to put this into perspective, I will get back to this at the end of the analysis. So in aviation, higher battery energy density affects three key things. First is range, second is payload, and third is operating economics. The heavier battery, or the higher capacity you need, the more batteries you have to put on board. The heavier battery, the more energy you have to use to move the aircraft. And obviously, you are lowering your range, you are lowering your payload, and you are increasing your operational costs. This is where Amprius is bringing massive advantage to the whole market. This is why companies developing electric aircraft are paying close attention to battery technology like Beta Technologies, Joby Aviation, Archer Aviation, Vertical Aerospace. Every improvement in energy density can potentially translate into more range, more payload, or improved operating economics. Let's just quickly get to the financial overview of Amprius, and then I will show you a few slides and few pictures just to explain what is going on with Amprius in depth. So Amprius is still in the early commercialization stage. Recent results, they show strong revenue growth. In exact numbers, 3x. The company reported roughly $25 million in quarterly revenue and around $73 million for the full year. So the key story here is not profitability yet. The key story is scaling demand and production capacity. Obviously, with Amprius pre-revenue building up, their market position, and their production capability as well. Amprius is targeting markets such as aerospace, defense, and high-performance mobility. The company has also referenced engagement with Amazon through climate technology innovation programs, although of any commercial partnership remains disclosed. There's a quick overview. Let's just get to the media part. Let me just share a few slides with you, just to put this into perspective for comparison. Here are examples of what is used. So lithium-ion batteries, capacity 150 watt-hours to 200 watt-hours per kilogram. Tesla sit in the range of 250 to 300 watt-hours per kilogram. Amprius silicon-anode up to 450. That's not it. I will show you what Amprius have been working on, and it gets even better. However, we are not beating the old combustion engine. Look at jet fuel and petrol. They are or gas. They are pretty much on the same energy density. We are looking at 12,000 watt-hours per kilogram. However, we cannot use this where the green energy is required. So Amprius seem to have the upper hand over the whole electric transport market. And hydrogen, obviously, there's so many challenges to hydrogen, but the highest energy density, around 33,000 watt-hours per kilogram. But obviously, it's an early stage. It brings a lot of logistic challenges. That was just to put this into perspective. One key note: aircraft don't run off runway. They run out of energy. This is why Amprius is important. Think of more and more resonating new market, new emerging market, new technology. Next week, by the way, we should know which first American cities will be adapting this concept and will be flying passengers maybe as early as the end of this year, if not early 2027. But these aircraft, this is Joby Aviation in particular, they can take off with Amprius batteries on board. It's not only about the capacity, it's also about recharge. These aircraft are designed for short 10 to 15 minute trips through the city. Once you deplete your battery, you have to recharge. You are waiting for passengers. I mean, obviously, the passengers are offboarding, onboarding. The passengers don't want to be waiting for you. You want to be waiting for your passengers. So the massive advantage of Amprius technology is that you can recharge your battery from 0 to 80% in mere 6 minutes. And this is a massive breakthrough for these aircraft. How about that? So we are talking Joby Aviation, potentially, and we will talk about it more in the afternoon before the closing bell in the eVTOL Daily. After me, Martyn will follow with his own analysis of the company as well. And the earnings is just good. I also know that Whisk Aero, Boeing, a subsidiary, might be involved with Amprius as well. But again, more on that in the afternoon. This is their involvement with Amprius. We have about 1 or 2 minutes, so I will just space it up a bit, so we're not going to miss the earnings. This is what their battery cells look like. Just an example. This is chart from Sensei. I will compare it to my chart as well, but we've got the gist. We both got the same trend. We can see a massive uptrend. Long term, we have key level. Sensei has got it marked as $16. I've got it marked as, I think, $14.50. Regardless of that, the chart is just telling us Amprius has had a hell of a run. And once we break through this support, through this resistance, there's a big upside. Again, this is not financial advice, but something we might see in the coming days. Now, let's get to the numbers. What is important? Massive year-over-year growth. In revenue, we are up 200 and 2% year over year. That is massive upside. Quarter over quarter as well, massive growth. Amprius are stagnating in their cash in their net loss, which is not a bad thing because they are upscaling the business, upscaling their operations, and they are not burning more cash. So that is some good signal as well. EBITDA, we are decreasing the margin as well, but earnings per share, we had a very good beat by Amprius for this quarter. And CapEx, you can see, is steady. Amprius have been setting up their production facilities on 2 continents in 3 countries, just to put this into perspective. And cash position, $90 million. The earnings has just started, so let's get back in the studio and listen to the updates. These are the slides from the presentation you will hear from the CEO. Let's get back in the studio and join in.
Statements regarding our financial and business performance, our business strategy, future product development or commercialization, new customer adoption and new applications, our growth and the growth of the markets in which we operate, and the timing and ability of Amprius to expand its manufacturing capacity, scale its business, and achieve a sustainable cost structure. These statements involve known and unknown risks, uncertainties, and other important factors that may cause Amprius's results, performance, or achievements to be materially different from any future results, performance, or achievements expressed or implied in such forward-looking statements. For a more complete discussion of these risks and uncertainties, please refer to Amprius's filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission.
If you like what you have been hearing and seeing so far, hit the like button and definitely subscribe because we will be dedicating more and more airtime to Amprius Technologies.
Amprius's GAAP financial results and should only be used as a supplement to, not a substitute for, Amprius's financial results presented in accordance with GAAP and may not be comparable to calculations of similarly titled measures by other companies. A reconciliation of adjusted EBITDA to net loss, the most directly comparable GAAP financial measure, is included in our press release, a copy of which is filed with the SEC and posted on our website. Finally, I would like to remind everyone that this conference call is being webcasted and a recording will be made available for replay on the company's investor relations website at ir.amprius.com. In addition to the webcast, the company has posted a press release that accompanies these results, which can also be found on the investor relations website. I'll now turn the call over to Amprius Technologies CEO, Tom Stepien, for his comments. Sir, please proceed.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us this morning. Let's start with slide 2. 2025 was a landmark year for Amprius. Our second-generation SiCore silicon-anode batteries gained broad adoption with many unmanned aerial vehicle customers. One recent win I'd like to highlight is Nokia Drone Networks, whose commercial drone-in-a-box system is one of the most capable platforms on the market. Amprius balanced cells provide Nokia drones with the burst power needed for takeoff and the sustained energy required for extended flight, ensuring obstacle avoidance, return to home, and other safety-critical subsystems remain powered throughout the mission. Our technology enables drones to fly longer, carry more, and operate in conditions once considered impractical, helping customers improve safety, reduce downtime, and increase mission value. In early January, we were honored to receive a Best of Innovation award at CES. Our silicon-anode lithium-ion battery was selected from the thousands of entrants for delivering an industry-leading 520 watt-hours per kilogram. For perspective, that is nearly twice the energy density of conventional graphite-based lithium-ion cells. Our cells are lighter, longer, and stronger. In December 2025, the U.S. updated the National Defense Authorization Act. Under the revised NDAA, batteries used in Department of War UAVs must meet 2 key sourcing requirements. First, final battery assembly must be conducted by a non-foreign entity of concern, typically located in the United States or in an allied nation. Second, functional cell components must not be sourced from or produced by an FEOC. For new DoW acquisition programs, both of these requirements must be met by January 1st, 2028, approximately 22 months from now. NDAA is important in the context of our contract with the Department of War's Defense Innovation Unit. Awarded in July 2025 through a competitive solicitation from the winter of 2024, the contract was recently increased and now totals $14.8 million. The DIU contract provides prototyping funds for Amprius to accelerate production of NDAA-compliant SiCore pouch cells used in military unmanned autonomous systems. The contract includes milestones for supply chain diversification, pilot line expansion in Fremont, California, and the selection of NDAA-compliant contract manufacturing partners. Amprius is ahead of schedule on NDAA compliance. One of our South Korean contract manufacturing partners has been delivering cells to customers since September 2025. We have expanded the Amprius Korea Battery Alliance to 3 contract manufacturing partners, and in early January, we announced our first U.S.-based partner, Nanotech Energy, located in Northern California. I'm happy to report that our scorecard for the battery component sourcing is 11 out of 11. All internal SiCore components, anode, cathode, electrolyte, separator, and 7 additional elements, are now sourced from primary and secondary suppliers in NDAA-compliant countries. We are prepared to supply domestic cells to customers such as L3Harris Technologies, which delivers integrated solutions across space, air, land, sea, and cyber in support of national security. On the financial front, we completed our at-the-market financing facility during the fourth quarter. We also fully exited our Colorado facility and settled the remaining lease and expense obligations. Fourth quarter revenue reached a record $25.2 million, representing an 18% quarter-over-quarter improvement and a 137% year-over-year increase. Gross margin improved to 24%, a 9 percentage point increase quarter-over-quarter, and a 45 percentage point increase year-over-year. Full year 2025 revenue reached $73 million, 3x our 2024 level. Gross margin for the year was 11%, up significantly from the minus 76% in 2024. Later in this call, Ricardo will share additional financial details and color. Now turning to slide 3. Amprius customers choose our batteries because they materially improve the performance of their products. By replacing standard graphite-based cells with our silicon-based cells, customer drones achieve significantly longer flight times. One way to think about our batteries is through the analogy of espresso. Espresso delivers the same amount of caffeine, energy, as a standard cup of drip coffee, but in a much smaller volume. And if you match the volume and weight of the two, espresso gives you roughly twice the energy. Drone customers tell us this consistently. Amprius batteries extend their flight time. In many cases, flight times double. Amprius espresso batteries give customers the extra energy they need to elevate system performance.
I love it.
We elevate without compromise. The Amprius silicon-anode platform spans 22 cell designs across multiple chemistries, pouch and cylindrical formats, and a range of sizes. We have tuned and optimized cells for specific customer duty cycles, giving us the precision to deliver ideal solutions for energy-focused missions, the takeoff power required by air taxis, and applications demanding high cycle life. This tunability is a significant differentiator for Amprius. Slide 4 looks at our market segments. We serve 5 principal end markets. The first is UAVs, including drones used for defense, public safety, security, and logistics. Defense platforms that require high energy density typically support long loiter missions and are primarily ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. Public safety drones are typically DFR, drone as first responder, systems integrated directly into 911 emergency workflows. In the U.S., more than 1,500 emergency departments now operate DFR programs as a part of real-time response operations. Drones are pre-positioned in fixed launch stations across the city and are dispatched automatically or semi-automatically the moment a 911 call is received. The objective is to get a camera over the scene in under 2 minutes, well before police, fire, or EMS units can arrive. Market segment number 2 is satellites in space. Satellite launch providers charge customers by the gram, making our ability to deliver the same energy at roughly half the weight, our espresso advantage, extremely valuable. Alto, a division of Airbus, is a long-standing customer in this segment. Its Zephyr high-altitude pseudo-satellites are solar-powered aircraft that operate at 70,000 feet for months at a time. The persistent ISR capability that Zephyr provides is strategically important for both defense and commercial applications. Amprius cells are also gaining strong traction in light electric vehicles, including e-motorcycles, scooters, and e-bikes. Wins in this segment typically align with the launch of new models, so revenue tends to be lumpier than in other markets. This category also includes a healthy replacement and range extender subsegment, an area we are beginning to explore. Robotics is our 4th market segment, and while still early, it is developing quickly. Robot performance is closely tied to battery capability, and Amprius's tunable cells can deliver both the high power needed for tasks like lifting and the energy required to maximize time between charges. With strong growth rates and expanding use cases, this segment is highly promising. The final segment that depends heavily on our industry-leading energy density is the electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. eVTOL and other advanced air mobility customers are developing autonomous, point-to-point regional transport for both passengers and cargo. Several companies are currently testing our cells, and we have a customer-funded joint development program underway with one leading company. In this program, we are tuning our chemistry to meet the specific power and energy requirements of their aircraft. Turning to slide 5. Amprius captures customer interest through our flexibility. We work closely with customers to understand their energy, power, and cycle life requirements, then select internal components that meet those needs while aligning with country of origin constraints. Because SiCore cells are produced on standard lithium-ion equipment, we can secure early design wins from our California pilot line and seamlessly transfer cell recipes and process steps to our contract manufacturing partners as volumes scale. During Q4 2025, we introduced 3 new cells to our silicon-anode platform and retired 1. The portfolio now stands at 22 designs, spanning energy, power, and balance cells in both pouch and cylindrical formats. We continue to offer the tunability, speed, and flexibility our customers rely on. Now turning to slide 6. Increasingly, customers care about the country of origin for both battery cells and internal components. Much of this is driven by the NDAA requirements discussed earlier, and the impact now extends to non-defense customers as well. Avoiding foreign entities of concern has become a compliance mandate, not just a marketing detail. Procurement teams are asking detailed questions about where cells are manufactured, where anodes and cathodes are processed, and where critical minerals originate. Fortunately, we anticipated this shift and began executing more than a year ago. In 2025, we announced our first NDAA-compliant contract manufacturer in South Korea, which delivers cells to customers just 1 quarter later. Last week, I was in South Korea with several of my Amprius colleagues, visiting component suppliers, checking in with current contract manufacturing partners, supporting new partners coming online, and meeting customers at our booth at Drone Show Korea. We still have work ahead on the NDAA supply.
Just want to share comments from Martyn
manufacturers, 22
on the screen.
cell models, and 11 internal components. Aligning every variable is operationally intensive. But we got an early start, we invested wisely, and we consistently share our progress with customers. They understand our roadmap for both cell manufacturing and for cell content sourcing, and they respect our ability to deliver the right cell from the right location at the right time. On slide 7, we present our high-level cell roadmap. The Amprius roadmap highlights our industry-leading energy density on the vertical axis over the next 18 months. It organizes our portfolio into 3 cell types. High-energy cells, where long uptime drives range and usability. Key segments here include drones, robotics, and LEVs. Number 2, high-power cells, which deliver short, intense power burst. Applications include power tools, data center backup systems, and aviation platforms such as eVTOLs and drones that require power pulses for takeoff and landing. And long life balance cells, designed for applications that demand both power and energy along with extended cycle life, including eVTOL, satellite, and medical device applications. We routinely share this high-level roadmap and the detailed cell information behind it with customers. We listen closely to their needs, incorporate their feedback, and adjust the roadmap as required. Now let me turn the call over to Ricardo Rodriguez, Amprius' CFO.
I mean, look at the upside,
Thank you, Tom,
the ultra-high
and good morning,
energy.
everyone.
It's
I'm very happy
30
to
to
be reporting another
50%
record-breaking
upside.
quarter on behalf of our team starting on slide 8. In the fourth quarter of 2025, we delivered $25.2 million of revenue. This translates into 18% growth over the third quarter and is over 2.3 times higher than the same quarter last year. I'm particularly excited about crossing the $100 million annual revenue run rate mark, which positions us to deliver over $1 million of revenue per employee, joining a very selective and unique group of companies. Echoing Tom's remarks, our clearly demonstrable technical edge has continued driving demand for our products as we broaden the portfolio and expanded our capacity in close collaboration with our manufacturing partners. For the year, our revenues were $73 million, in line with our expectations, and just over 3 times higher than 2024. Our Q4 cost of goods sold at $19.3 million did not increase at the same rate as our revenue, thanks to a favorable product mix and higher volumes. This enabled gross profit margins of 24%, a significant improvement over our Q3 gross margin of 15%. Our lower SiMax line mix was now below 60% of revenues, providing a powerful driver of our gross margin improvements. For the year, our gross margins were 11%, reflecting a step change improvement over negative 76% gross margins in 2024 as our revenue from SiCore increased around the world. Our resourceful culture enabled the team to only spend $8.9 million of OPEX, which excludes a one-time charge of $22.5 million linked with our decision to not develop a facility in Colorado and the decommissioning of some equipment in Fremont. The quarter-over-quarter increase in OPEX of $900,000 was driven by a targeted investment in our sales and go-to-market efforts, along with the reallocation of some R&D expenses from cost of goods sold to OPEX as development services agreements are completed. These expenses, including the one-time charge of $22.5 million that I mentioned earlier, bring our Q4 operating loss to $25.4 million, compared to an operating loss of $4.7 million in the prior quarter. Without the one-time charge, our operating loss would have been $2.9 million, which would have reduced our operating loss by 37% quarter over quarter. Similar dynamic applies to our annual operating loss of $46.6 million, which would have been $24.1 million without the same one-time charge, and the 48% reduction of the operating loss of $46.2 million from 2024. Our GAAP net loss for the third quarter was $24.3 million, or negative 18 cents per share, based on 132.1 million weighted average shares outstanding. Without the one-time charge, our loss would have been only $1.9 million, or 1 cent per share. In Q4, we recorded adjusted EBITDA of $1.8 million compared to negative $1.4 million in the prior quarter. Without $1.6 million in operating costs from Colorado, we would have actually had positive adjusted EBITDA of $177,000 in Q3 of 2025. As a reminder, we define adjusted EBITDA as net income or loss before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, stock-based compensation, and other items that we do not believe are indicative of our core operating performance. In Q4, these adjustments included $1.2 million of depreciation, $1.9 million of stock-based compensation, $1.1 million of interest and other income, along with $1.6 million of quarterly operating costs linked to the Colorado facility. If we adjust our EBITDA for the cost that we will
just
now
wait for
not
the
be
guidance
incurring
for
in
next
Colorado,
year or for this year.
our adjusted EBITDA in 2025 would have been negative $5.3 million, reducing our EBITDA loss by 77% year over year and putting us on a path to have positive adjusted EBITDA above our current revenue run rate. As of the end of 2025, we had 134.5 million shares outstanding, which was up by 4.1 million from the prior quarter. The change includes approximately 2.3 million shares issued from option exercises and RSU vesting, along with 1.8 million shares issued under our at-the-market offering program. Now turning over to cash flow and the balance sheet. We ended the third quarter with $90.5 million in cash and no debt. The main drivers of cash flow in the quarter were the following. One, $3.5 million used in operating cash flow, which was mainly driven by a near-term $1.8 million increase in accounts receivable and a $2.1 million increase of inventory. Two, $2.4 million of Q4 investments that are being funded by the Defense Innovation Unit, or DIU, as part of our project to stand up NDAA-compliant pilot and manufacturing lines. This brought our total CapEx in 2025 to $4.4 million. And lastly, $23.1 million from financing activities, consisting of $19.6 million from the issuance of common stock under our at-the-market sales agreement, and $3.5 million of proceeds from warrants and option exercises. As we announced on January 12th, we have now terminated our at-the-market offering program. Before I turn the call back to Tom, I'd like to take a moment to frame out our outlook for 2026 and the North Star beyond that, using slide 9 as the backdrop. With what we know today, we believe that by leveraging our platform and existing relationships, we can deliver at least $125 million of revenue in 2026, which would enable us to have our first full year of adjusted positive EBITDA of at least $4 million. This baseline level of profitability would translate into a net loss of $8 million for the year, or 6 cents per share, assuming 134.5 million shares. When we say at least, we mean that we believe that while we're positioned to deliver additional upside, we would rather size this incremental opportunity as it happens than commit to delivering it as we work our way through what can be a great year for Amprius. Our CapEx for the year will be less than $10 million, as we have made a decision to strategically invest in diversifying our supply chain and expanding manufacturing capacity within our Fremont facility to include electrode manufacturing. As noted earlier, we're doing this in collaboration with the U.S. Government Defense Innovation Unit and have secured a contract for $14.8 million. With what we know today, we expect this funding to cover most of our capital investment of the next several quarters as we work to develop a growing and resilient source of supply in a dynamic trade environment. Last month, alongside the announcement of our agreement to produce cells with Nanotech Energy in the U.S., we also reported that we eliminated a lease and related expense obligation of over $110 million in Colorado by settling it for $20 million. As a result, you can expect our cash position in Q1 to decrease by that amount along with the reduction of $13.4 million in right-of-use assets and the $33.2 million reduction in near-term liabilities in our balance sheet. In forecasting our cash burn, we believe that our current revenue level and even slight improvements from these can put us on a path to mainly consuming cash for working capital versus funding operating expenses in the near term. Looking further ahead, we believe that as we work through 2026, it will become increasingly clear that our plans to build an efficiently scaled multi-market leader that sets the technical pace in high energy and density power cells are realistic. As we close out the decade, we are targeting making the most of over $600 million of contracted capacity by enabling our customers' most mission-critical duty cycles and positioning us to deliver over 30% gross margins. By maintaining our resourceful culture and low-cost structure, we can then translate that into at least 20% EBITDA margins. Most importantly, the capabilities in go-to-market, product development, quality assurance, and enabling scale that we'd have by then would position us for additional growth beyond 2030. That opportunity has our team energized and motivated to work together to meet and hopefully even surpass these goals by improving ourselves and how we work. And with that, I'm happy to turn the call over back to Tom for his closing remarks. Thank you very much for your attention and continued support.
What do you think of this? Let me know in the chat.
2025 was a very strong year. We delivered consistent quarter-over-quarter revenue growth, expanded our customer base to more than 550, demonstrated state-of-the-art technical performance, and achieved 3 consecutive quarters of positive and growing gross margin. The lithium-ion battery market is intensely competitive, and we embrace those challenges. In 2026, we remain focused on delivering next-generation silicon-anode performance that raises the bar for energy density and sustained power without compromising safety or reliability. We are equally committed to meeting the cell manufacturing and content country of origin requirements our customers expect. We will broaden our product portfolio to unlock new market opportunities and convert a growing number of customer engagements into formal qualifications and deployments, particularly across mobility-centric platforms. We are starting 2026 in a financially clean position, having completed our ATM program, fully exited the Colorado facility, and transitioned all legacy SiMax Generation 1 customers to our Generation 2 SiCore platform. We are incredibly bullish by the opportunities in front of us. We look forward to meeting and reconnecting with many of you as we participate in a number of upcoming investor conferences. Thank you for your continued interest and support of Amprius. With that, I will turn it back to the operator for questions.
Thank you. We'll now be conducting a question-and-answer session. We ask you please limit yourself to one question and one follow-up. If you'd like to ask a question at this time, please press star 1.
This could be very interesting. We might get some little taster of the secrets and of the undisclosed partnerships as well.
Using speaker equipment, it may be necessary to pick up your handset before pressing the star keys.
Markets are liking this. All markets are down. Amprius is up, massively up. And Martyn said he would invest into this because he can own the whole eVTOL market.
Hi, Tom. Hi, Ricardo.
How about that?
Hey, Eric. It's great to have you here for the first time with us.
Yeah, good morning. So curious, maybe if we could start just with the selection of the 11 components. I mean, obviously a quite significant step, but just curious. You talked about it a little bit, Tom, but just maybe a little bit more in depth about what you need to do now, what some of the milestones might be in 2026. Obviously, you've got a head start, but those steps as you work towards gaining that full compliance, and I would assume you're trying to do that well in advance of the January 1, 2028 date.
Yeah, good question. So we have technically selected anode, cathode, electrolyte, separator, and that make up the internals of our battery and give us the performance that we talked about. We have primary vendors and secondary vendors, it went through a pretty rigorous testing process. This all started with the DIU project back when it started in July 2025. So we've had 6-8 months to turn the knobs here. So we're happy with the performance of the cells with the different internal components. In fact, in some cases, we see slightly improved performance compared to the legacy components. So that is where we are today. The work that remains includes productizing and getting all of those new suppliers under multi-year agreements. Part of what I was doing in South Korea last week is talking to some of those suppliers because Korea is, outside of China, is probably the second largest country in terms of suppliers. There's ones in Japan, there's suppliers here in the U.S., etc. So we need to put those agreements in place, make sure that we can operationalize it, get to deliver their components to our contract manufacturer.
There's a slight issue with the audio coming through. It's not on my end, unfortunately.
Is still on our plate to complete to finally deliver full sales at the quantities that our customers are demanding.
Got it. But so it sounds like you're really through all the technical or the engineering side of it. It is now more about just making sure that, yes, you've qualified those sources, but can you, do you have those locked down to be able to incorporate those in your products for, obviously much larger volumes?
That's a good way to summarize it. The heavy lifting on the technical side is done, and now it turns over to our operational folks who need to do exactly that. Get the suppliers on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Appreciate that. And then just maybe for my follow-up, saw the first Gauntlet awards under the Drone Dominance Plan, and I know there were 25 awardees. I don't know if you're able to, give specifics or any color around this, but of those 25 awardees, just kind of curious, how many of those are your customers? How do you view that as an opportunity? And then obviously just your outlook for the next steps under the executive order.
That's a good question.
Yeah, the Gauntlet 1 of the Drone Dominance Program had 25 invitees. We should see here in the next couple days the results of the actual fly-off that has completed. Our understanding is that it was done last week, and there's a down select going on. We are all over that in terms of understanding where is Amprius inside in each of the 25. We are looking forward to understanding the official down select list that, again, as I mentioned, should be. So that's where we are. Stay tuned on specifics. I think as that list is published, we may be able to talk about.
That could be a good catalyst for the stock.
Third, and fourth Gauntlet. So this will happen over the next 18 months or so. This is early, but we feel good about where we are today.
Okay, thank you.
Wow, that was interesting.
Thank you, Eric.
Don't go anywhere. We've got Keir Starmer giving update on the war very soon. I'll follow on the
Hey guys,
Q&A
thanks
section.
for taking my question and congrats on the great results. I just wanted to dive in to the new customer wins. Historically, this was a metric you guys were giving. In the deck, it says that you're working with 550 customers. So my question is it fair to assume you guys added over 100 new customers in the quarter? And then just trying to get a sense of where they are in volume production. Are we still kind of in the early design phase for the majority of these? And when do we get to those high volume production?
It is fair, Austin, to assume that it's more than 100. It was 444 in the last call in November. You said 550. So yeah, we continue to add to that. We have both repeat customers, of course, which is an interesting that we've earned the trust and continue to grow that, and we continue to expand the funnel with over 100 new ones. In general, the 100 new ones are new. right? Some of these are a couple hundred cells for testing, come from their Fremont pilot line, which is set up for exactly to win the design. So we keep track of those because we're planting seeds. The average PO, we looked at that just the other day. The average PO during Q4 increased relative to Q3. Customers are purchasing larger volumes of that, but it is still early days here in terms of trying to provide some. You can obviously do the math on our revenue, single-digit market share in these markets, growing, of course. So it's early. We have a lot of work to do to capture what we believe is our fair share given our tech.
Okay. Thank you for that. And I guess just one quick follow-up. Just looking at your guidance and kind of like what's baked in from like a geographic perspective. Historically, Europe or international has been the main driver. Could you just kind of dive into kind of what's baked into that, like what we should be expecting from a regional perspective?
Yeah, sure, Austin. We see a continuation of the same trends that we saw, especially in Q3 and Q4, and are really waiting to see where the U.S. comes out in terms of enabling us to deliver additional upside. So frankly, within the guide, we expect our mix to look pretty similar to where we were in Q2, Q3 of last year.
All right. Well, thank you guys, and best of luck for the rest of the year.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.
Our next question comes from the line of Mark Shooter with William Blair. Please proceed with your questions.
Hey, Tom and Ricardo. Congrats on the great progress in 2025.
Thank you.
Mark, thanks.
Question about some, recent geopolitics. The war in Iran, we're starting to see the U.S. drone warfare capabilities. But at the same time, we're starting to see some strain in the munition stockpiles. So I'm wondering, in the past 6 days, have you had any increased urgency from any U.S. military, DOW, defense contractors, or are they looking for you to ship more batteries yesterday?
Yeah, over the weekend, we actually had one customer who themselves have a reconnaissance drone, tends to fly for hours and days at a time, that was a little bit on hold, that is getting a pull themselves, which creates a pull for us. And that's where this pilot line we have here, where Ricardo and I are in Fremont, can quickly do a student body right. Okay, let's make those in this 108 cells, deliver them quickly, i.e. in a couple weeks to that. So we're seeing some of that. It's hard to talk about more than that, just a single customer, but that is one data point to share.
Wow.
There's also a dynamic in play right now where some of the traditional interception hardware is running low on inventory, and so that is pushing folks to migrate to drones as the next generation of interception hardware. So we'll see how that trend plays out here this year.
That's great. I appreciate the color on both of you. About, you did mention the Fremont pilot line, and that brings me to my next question. The nanotech partnership we thought was a creative solution to find some capacity. But how much demand are you seeing from these super NDAA compliant customers where they need U.S. manufacturing? And are you looking to find more creative solutions, like a partnership with another nanotech, or do you think that the pilot line that you're increasing capacity in Fremont with the DIU investment will provide enough capacity later this year?
Yeah, the pilot line is well named because it's primarily to win initial designs, and once there's a volume that's a couple thousand cells, that's when we transfer to one of our partners. Nanotech helps us on cylindrical cells, and we're getting a really strong pull. I was at December as they had DA changes. They're okay with some of the cells they're getting today from the countries and content today, but they really want to understand the when. We mentioned that in earlier. So we share with them the roadmap. Hey, here's when we're really going to have volume from either nanotech or others. And there will be more coming. That's clear. The pull is there. This will balance out in a couple of years. And some of our customers are insensitive to this. So great. We have a really strong existing set of partners. Some are not comfortable with that setup, and Korea is serving that. As I mentioned, as we know, we are cells from Korea today, and some must have U.S. So it'll balance out, maybe a third in a couple of years, grading that transition.
I do apologize for the audio. It's not on my end. There's a lag.
Thank you, Mark.
Our next question comes from the line of Colin Rusch with Oppenheimer. Please proceed with your question.
Thanks so much, guys. Tom, I'd love to get a better understanding of what's happening here within the technology roadmap. Are these fundamental changes in some of the electrolyte and binder technologies or any of the separator technologies as you move towards these higher performance cells? And how mature is the testing process to give you comfort that you'll be able to execute on these over the next 18 to 24 months?
This is exactly what he's talking about.
Thanks. Let's go inside the battery a bit. So the anode, we believe, with our silicon design, which took us a little while to get right, we think is pretty strong. So the big question is, okay, why can't we go above 450, 500, depending on the cell type, watt hours per kilogram? Is that some of the other components, as you allude to? So there's knobs being turned by our R&D folks, primarily on the cathode. The thinking is that cathode may be slowing down the overall package. So there's some work being done. We had a board meeting yesterday and shared our goals to the board on specifics related to, and it's very focused on proving that. We're big believers you get what you measure. We are measuring our energy density here inside. We are R&D focus on that. On the testing part, we feel pretty good. We got a pretty robust system here at the small scale, right? The manual scale. P&L and D folks are turning. And then as these 30 different tools arrive, funded by the Defense Unit, that's getting stronger. So we feel pretty good about that. Stay tuned. We all want to make the goals that we set up here internally, of course, and we'll be able to report out that as we achieve some success.
Thanks so much, guys. And then the follow-up here is really around the 2030 guidance. The performance that you're talking about here from a technology perspective is just fundamentally advantaged and looks defensible in a pretty material way. And the target markets that you guys are looking at are so much larger than what it looks like the target is for 2030. So can you talk a little bit about the considerations around the pacing of growth, pricing and margin, kind of internal targets as you think about growing this platform and doing it sustainably? How should we think about the key gating items and how we should think about potential acceleration relative to those targets?
Yeah, Colin. So again, I think this all really just starts with the technical performance that we're able to deliver. So in our view, if we deliver everything that's there on slide 7 and the markets grow, maybe not even to the full extent, but to half of what we have on slide 4, when we look at some of the main drivers. And as we were looking at the markets, one element that people forget about this is that there's a bit of a replacement dynamic within some of these end applications. And And then it really comes down to us leveraging the capacity that we've contracted, having that capacity in the right place so that we can deliver the right cell at the right time from the right place. And yeah, when we look at it, I agree with you. I think we can, that's why we have $600 million plus. We'll find out over time what capacity is needed in 2030. But with the way we're looking at the world today, I think this is, as you mentioned, pretty achievable.
Thanks so much, guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Colin.
The next question comes from the line of Ryan.
Don't go anywhere. We'll cover Keir Starmer. He's talking about war update from the UK.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for taking my questions. Hey, Ricardo. Tom, you mentioned market share earlier. Could you frame how you're thinking about your aviation market share today, maybe for drones globally, or if you could get more specific within military drones or advanced drones?
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. It's, as we say at the have said, it's single digits. These markets are large and growing. We have updated, and you see that on slide 4, our understanding, put that also into our 10K. We're trying to really double-click on that for some of the specifics you asked. Drone taxonomy is groups 1 through 5. Okay, we know that batteries are used in 1, 2, and half of 3, but not in 4 and 5. How much of that is industrial versus defense? What's going on DFR drone is first. We have not yet found a good source for that double click. We got the first click to understand as we presented, but our goal is to have more definition that we can have both internally and share externally. We've started, we have a good third party who's helping pull that together, but it's so early and it's changing so fast, right? This Drone Dominance program, the U.S. has admitted that, hey, we got to catch up. So what we have today is what we can share. We're not holding anything back, but we are certainly trying to get smarter and understand that better.
And Ryan, I mean, I think the point that we're trying to drive here is that our share depends on how you sub-segment the market. In some cases, our batteries basically enable the duty cycle, right? By the time you power the drone, a camera, a gimbal, a radar, multiple sensors, you wonder how there's energy left in the battery to still make the drone fly a couple miles away. And so we're seeing our share be pretty high on those drones that have a lot of our other power draining devices. While those more inexpensive drones, some of them are frankly using remote control car batteries, and therefore that's not a market for us to play in, even though the volumes are pretty high. So we do believe, just through process of elimination of the folks who aren't yet customers, that we are positioned to do very, very well in that high power, high energy draw drones, which tend to be the larger ones that are used for surveillance or more complex missions.
Got it. I appreciate that detail. And then just to follow up on guidance, could you give more detail around what's baked into the baseline revenue estimate, maybe what needs to happen to exceed it, and what your revenue capacity is roughly today?
Yeah, I'll answer it sort of in reverse order. So our capacity can definitely deliver the guidance, and we've got plenty of headroom above it. What's baked in our assumptions is what we see from current customers and some prospects that we're looking to convert here into customers in Q3 and Q4. Sort of going back to Austin's question, we still see the UAV market accelerating and from being pretty well established in Europe. And what isn't baked in fully just yet is any upside that could come from additional drone production and sourcing here in the U.S. So in our guide, we're still assuming that the mix is meaningfully outside of the U.S. for 2026. And as I said, we'll size the upside here as we deliver it, because there are some pretty quick decisions being made on the U.S. side around what this demand could be. Just alongside some of the calls that we got here this weekend and have been getting this week, we do see this evolving, favorably from a demand perspective, but sizing it, we want to size it with POs, not with, some loose idea of what the pipeline is.
Great. Appreciate it, guys. I'll turn it back.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ted Jackson.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be covering Keir Starmer. He's talking in a few minutes, so we'll cover him after the earnings call.
Hear me, a xylophone.
Yeah, we can hear you, Ted.
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
A xylophone band literally set up behind me in the airport while we're on this call, so it's really loud. I've got a lot of really nice ambient music for you.
No worries.
I got a couple of questions. So a real simple one. You made a comment, if I recall, that your SiMax revenue has fallen about 60% of total. And I guess where I'm going, and that you've transitioned your, Gen 1 SiMax customers to Gen 2 SiCore. So I guess my question is, what was the mix of revenue SiMax to SiCore coming into the year? What was it coming out? Where do you see it at the end of 20?
At the end of 26, we see it at 0. And coming in, it was about 25%.
Okay. Then my next question, with the NDAA compliance success that you've had, in terms of getting all your suppliers in place and your contract manufacturing in place, where do you think you stand in that process vis-a-vis the market as a whole? Do you think that, are you, in a pack? Are you, I get a sense you're either in a pack with everyone else or probably perhaps you're a few lengths ahead, maybe some kind of thought with that. And then, do you see the ability to get there first as a competitive advantage? And then I've just got one more behind that.
Yeah, so we think that we are near the front. It's hard to know whether we are at the front. Every battery manufacturer got the memo and is looking to serve. We tend to take only the paranoid survive, so we never really want to think of ourselves as being at the front. We are happy with our industry-leading advantages. We're working hard. We got work to do for sure. As I mentioned, there's more announcing here. Work's underway. You can imagine that there's a lot of effort long before they get announced. So we're happy with where we are. We are very focused on making sure that we keep up with us because it's market. So happy, but work to do.
I do apologize for the audio. The issue is not on my end.
My last question, just looking over at slide 4, over to the right, where you have your OEMs and key market players. You have a lot of corporate logos up here. Have all of these logos, in some form or fashion, sampled or looked at the Amprius product? Are they, customers or, how much do you give, someone with this, like, some of them you've clearly announced as customers, some of them you have not. I guess the question is, are all these people that you actually have taken your battery in the past for some form or fashion?
Yeah, you're right. Some are customers. The title of that column on slide 4 is appropriate, key market players. So some are customers that we can talk about publicly. Some are potential customers where we are in testing, and other ones we have to earn their trust. So that's the mix that we have on that right-hand column.
But in general, these are all folks who we see logical. It'd be logical for them to buy cells from us, and they may have bought cells at low volumes for testing as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll step out of line. Thanks very much, and congrats on the quarter.
Thanks, Ted.
Thank you.
Our next question is from the line of Derek Soderberg with Cantor Fitzgerald. Please proceed with your question.
Yeah, hey guys, thanks for taking the questions, and my congrats as well on the results. First one on the Nokia. Hey, the first question is on the Nokia drone networks. Is this sort of a single product win, or is it more of a platform win? Can you talk a bit about the unit volumes and ramp timing for that? And then, as we sort of look into exiting the decade, and can you sort of talk about how large the opportunity would be with the Nokia piece?
We like Nokia, Derek, because it is a communications platform generally, right? Our understanding of this platform is that it's able to beam 5G signals, difficult to reach places where you can't cellular network easily install. It is a platform. There are, if you talk to the Nokia guys, a lot of work that they have planned in the future, and they have their roadmap, of course. We don't tend to break out specific customer volumes and share those. We do like this because it emphasizes what we say, right? This espresso advantage, as we tried to. Nokia drones with our batteries can fly 40-50% longer, and other customers twice the flight time compared to just standard batteries. That's what led them to us, and in that same camp.
I do apologize for the audio. It's not on our end. There's some lag on the line.
Helpful. And Tom, you've got a validated technology, hundreds of customers. You've been commercial for 7-8 years now with Fortune 500s. You really have had a head start, at least in the drone opportunity. How do you think you can best leverage that position to really accelerate the growth of the business? Thanks.
Yeah, it's about execution on the operational side for sure, to get the customers what they want when they want it, and again from the right place. We're also investing into the customer facing side of the house. We've added to our sales team. We have a pack partner program that is embryonic but growing. Some of our sales go directly to the folks who make crafts, products that fly or roll or walk around like robots do. Others go through pack houses, and those packs then go into those end-use products. So we're investing there for sure. We're investing on some of our internal processes. We want to be able to meet and exceed this demand that we see coming.
Super helpful. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Our next question is from the line of Chip Moore with Roth Capital. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for taking the question.
Hey, Chip. Morning.
Hey, Ricardo, I want to follow up. Actually, you brought up a good point on the replacement dynamic for batteries. Have you done any sort of analysis on what replacement can become as some of these markets mature? Understanding that they're still, some of them are still pretty nascent, but where do you think that can go over time?
I think it can be pretty meaningful depending on the market. In eVTOLs, it could very well be even more than the initial install volume if these things are almost the same way. If you look at jet engine manufacturers in planes today, the maintenance and the replacement of parts within those jet engines make the Rolls-Royces
running after the market open. Look at that. Look at that green candle.
And that's a dynamic that you obviously don't see in EVs because you hopefully don't have to replace the battery.
I love it.
You just replace the whole car. But in UAVs and robotics and eVTOLs, we are seeing a little bit of a razor blade dynamic, right, where the replacement market could be even larger than the initial sale market. And so, of course, depending on what assumptions you have for that, you end up with completely different market sizing. And there's also a lot of work that can be done here to develop a standardized battery pack. And so this is something that we think about pretty frequently. We're looking for the right way to frame this out for the industry so that we don't have customers pulling in different directions when the duty cycle and the requirements are pretty clear, and where we can drive meaningful convergence.
Yeah, no, that's helpful, Ricardo. And maybe just for my follow-up, appreciate all the new detail in the slides. Great job. Maybe, on the market slide, on slide 4, huge opportunities. What about opportunities outside of those core markets, fast charge and discharge capabilities?
Don't go anywhere. We'll be covering Keir Starmer. He'll be talking shortly about war update from the UK, and then I will send it off to Martyn for the main show, for the main opening bell.
Yeah, we alluded to this in slide 7. There's a little picture of a data center there for the high power cells. I think Tom mentioned it in his remarks as well. That's an opportunity. Another one that we're looking at are, battery packs for military applications. So, the average soldier carries over 100 pounds of gear, and there are the standard battery packs that currently use standard lithium-ion cells. And of course, if we bring higher energy density, we believe that we can cut the weight of those packs in half, potentially even make them more powerful. And if you combine them with something like a supercapacitor, you can even trim the upper bounds of power peaks that tend to degrade batteries further. So theoretically, we could, cut the weight of those things in half or double their capacity, and then at the same time, almost double the life of those battery packs, therefore reducing the need to replace them as frequently. So, yeah, I think outside of what we have in slide 4, high power cells for data centers are obviously a market. And then, anywhere else where you're using a battery pack, particularly in military applications, looking to leverage some of the customers that we already have, those would be other ancillary opportunities.
And maybe just to pile on, some of the characteristics that we show in slide 3 are inherent with the silicon platform, right? Fast charges, and oh, by the way, we also can charge a lot faster. Oh my gosh, no kidding. Oh, and also we have a wider temperature range. So we lead with our strengths, right? Our onlyness is energy density or metric density. But some of these other ones really help secure the win and secure the long-term relationships that we're building with customers.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Again, I do apologize for the audio.
Thanks, Chip.
Thank you. Our last question comes from the line of Amit Dayal.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be covering Keir Starmer, and then I will send you off to Martyn.
Thank you, guys. Good morning. With respect to maybe... Hey, Ricardo. I'm doing well, thank you. With respect to trying to bring sort of manufacturing costs down or the price of the batteries down, do you have any room, as you iterate on your side, and how much of that may come from, sort of the engineering side, from your end versus what the contract manufacturers can support you with?
Yeah, so certainly design is a big lever on the for sure. Volume plays a part also.
Look at Amprius going. Look at that run. Wow.
There's some pricing that we see with the 11 supply.
We are going to break through that
and then
resistance.
We're getting into that, as we mentioned, as we go full NDAA with the contracts and the negotiations with suppliers on the 11. So we're in the midst of some of that. But the good news is that volumes are increasing. That's a big lever. And we'll see that when we do talk to customers and they are insisting on U.S., that's where this interesting dynamic comes in, where they want U.S., but they want pricing. So we tend to have a little bit of an arm wrestle. But in general, we're happy with the margins we see, and you, of course, understand the guidance on I think we can get.
Yes, understood. Thank you, Tom. And then just last one from me. In terms of your balance sheet, looks really, solid with over 90 million in cash. Looks like at this point, you really don't need to tap at the ATM anymore. What, and especially going into sort of a capital light strategy with Colorado out of the picture now, what are the uses of that cash that we can think of, that could maybe accelerate sales or product development? Any color on that would be helpful. Thank you.
Yes, I mentioned in my remarks, Amit, with the current balance sheet, we are really only looking to fund working capital. As I mentioned, our CapEx will be funded by the DIU here in Fremont. Any little bit of incremental CapEx that could be needed at the contract manufacturers to accelerate production if demand ramps up even beyond our expectations can also be funded by the balance sheet. We're also looking at putting in place a working capital line with some of our banking partners to further scale the balance sheet. And then, yeah, as you mentioned earlier this year, we put out an announcement saying that we are basically done with the ATM. I think the ATM did its job over the last 2 years. And right now, as you mentioned, the balance sheet is solid. We think our current strategy is more than fully funded.
Understood. Thank you, guys. That's all I have.
Thanks so much. Take care, Amit.
Thanks, Amit.
Thank you. This concludes our question and answer session. I'll now turn the floor back to management for closing comments.
Thank you so much for joining us on the call. Stay tuned. We look forward to meeting some of you on the road here as we attend a couple of investor relations events, and be well. Thanks for your support.
Absolutely. As we talked about, 2025 was a great year. We think 2026 can be even stronger as we play to our strengths, our energy density, and continue to push new products, expand our portfolio, respond to the country of origin request. We're in a fortunate position. We're certainly in it to win it, and we appreciate your support.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this will conclude today's conference. You may disconnect your lines at this time and have a wonderful day.
Wow, thank you for the great presentation and massive guidance. Did you see that run? Did you see that massive run? Amprius is up, the whole market is down. Look at it, the whole markets are down. Only XRP slightly up. S&P is 20, was that 25, 30%. Nasdaq is down over around 40%. Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum, gold, silver down. Amprius up 15%. Look at that massive green candle. Congratulations everyone who have been following Amprius with us and who have invested early days. We are now looking, if we have a good push, if we have a recovery or a green day, or turning into a green day, or green day tomorrow or next couple of days, I think we will break through and we will have a very good run. Congratulations again, everyone who have invested. Martyn will follow after me shortly. I am now covering Keir Starmer talking, giving updates on the war from the UK perspective. So we will cover this, and I will send you off to Martyn for the main event of the day. We've got Keir Starmer taking the stage. Let's see if he is talking now. Bear with me. Don't go anywhere.
To the situation in Iran and the Middle East. I know that people are worried sick about their family and friends who are caught up in this.
If you have just joined,
about the impact on our lives,
we have covered Amprius earnings. Amprius is up 15%.
About the potential for even greater escalation.
And it's Keir Starmer talking now.
They can hardly believe that yet again we're seeing missiles and drones falling and civilians in the firing line across the region. So I want to reassure the British public about the action that we're taking. While the region has been plunged into chaos, my focus is providing calm, level-headed leadership in the national interest. That means deploying our military and diplomatic strength to protect our people. And it means having the strength to stand firm by our values and our principles, no matter the pressure to do otherwise. The long-standing British position is that the best way forward for the regime and the world is a negotiated settlement with Iran where they give up their nuclear ambitions. Now, that's why I took the decision that the UK would not join the initial strikes on Iran by the US and Israel. Now, that decision was deliberate. It was in the national interest, and I stand by it. But when Iran started attacking countries around the Gulf and the wider region, the situation changed. Iran has now fired drones and missiles at 10 countries that did not attack them. These are allies of the UK, where we have hundreds of thousands of British people, as well as British military personnel. Our number one priority is protecting our people. And that's why, long before the US and Israeli action last weekend, we had already deployed additional military capabilities to the region to defend our interests. And I want to pay tribute to our brilliant armed forces. Throughout January and February, we were moving defensive assets to Cyprus and Qatar. Fighter jets, air defense missiles, advanced radar, and systems to take down drones, to ensure we were in a heightened state of readiness in advance of any conflict beginning. When the strikes began on Saturday, we immediately put those jets into the sky on a mission to protect our people and our allies in the region. And that is what they have done, flying over Cyprus and the wider region, shooting down multiple drones, at least one of which was heading towards a base housing British military personnel. Our jets were in the sky again last night, over Jordan, Qatar, and other partners, refueling in the air to prolong their mission. And we're constantly resupplying our jets and our missile stores. And we are responding to requests from allies in the region for further help. I can announce today that we're sending 4 additional Typhoon jets to join our squadron in Qatar, to strengthen our defensive operations in Qatar and across the region. Wildcat helicopters with anti-drone capabilities are arriving in Cyprus tomorrow. The Defence Secretary is on the ground in Cyprus right now, coordinating our work and meeting our brave servicemen and women. We're deploying HMS Dragon to the Mediterranean. And we have allowed the US to use British bases to conduct defensive operations to take out Iranian missiles before they're fired at our people and our allies. We will maintain this shield over British people in the region and our allies. We are working to strengthen it every day. And we're working as fast as possible to get our people out. As of today, over 140,000 individuals in the region have registered their presence, enabling us to get them the information and the support that they need. We have rapid deployment teams on the ground in Oman and Saudi Arabia. And our consular teams are helping hundreds of the most vulnerable individuals. Despite airspace closures, we're working around the clock with airlines, travel companies, and governments to open safe routes home. More than 4,000 people have now arrived back in the United Kingdom on commercial flights from the UAE, including vulnerable Brits identified by our teams. A further 7 flights are due to leave the UAE for the UK today. And I can report that our first charter flight from Oman took off a few minutes ago. We will lay on additional charter flights in the coming days. British Airways is putting on daily flights from Oman, and we will keep working with all of our partners to increase the speed and capacity of this airlift. I want to be very clear. This is a huge undertaking. It's one of the biggest operations of its kind, many times bigger than the evacuation from Afghanistan. It's not going to happen overnight, but we will not stop until our people are safe. I also want to say a word about the economic impact. Iran is targeting oil and gas facilities in the Gulf and tankers in the Straits of Hormuz, trying to inflict economic pain around the world. So we will continue to work with the industries affected and our allies to respond to any impact. And this is where the long-term changes that we're delivering for the British people are paying off. We have the right plan for defence, delivering the biggest increase in defence spending since the Cold War, to strengthen our armed forces and keep people safe. We have the right plan for our economy. As the Chancellor said on Tuesday, we're sticking to that plan so we can cut energy bills and help keeping families with the cost of living and helping them. We also have the right plan for our energy supplies, building up clean British energy like never before, decreasing our dependence on volatile international markets, and creating the energy security and independence that we need. Faced with this new geopolitical crisis, the sad fact is that some will try to use it to divide us. That's why the government is reaching out to communities across the United Kingdom, Jewish and Muslim alike, making sure that communities and places of worship have appropriate protective security in place. But look, as a nation, we should come together in this moment. Those citizens that are stuck in the region, scared and in need of help, come from all backgrounds. The armed forces who protect them come from all backgrounds.
Look
too.
at Amprius running, $15
we are
now.
united by our common humanity and our love of this country. This conflict could continue for some time. So I want you to know that your government is resolute in our response, at home and abroad. We will do everything we can to protect British lives, uphold British values, and safeguard the national interest. Thank you. And now I'll take some questions. And I've got Chris, BBC first, please.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Chris Mason at BBC News. Can you address directly those at home and abroad who see your response and see indecision, prevarication and a lack of preparedness? Thank you.
Yes, let me address that, because as I said a moment ago, we started pre-deploying to the region in January and February, particularly to Cyprus and Qatar, and that was fighter jets, air defence missiles, advanced radar and anti-drone systems. Now, we did that during the course of 8 or so weeks. We did that in conjunction with the US and with our allies, and we continue to bolster the capability that we have there to keep our people safe. So there's been a lot of pre-planning gone into this, a lot of pre-deployment that's gone into this, and I'm satisfied that we can keep our people safe, and we're working very hard to make sure that wherever people have registered their presence, we can help them with the information that they need and the support they need and get them back to the United Kingdom as quickly and as safely as possible. Thank you, Chris. Robert Peston, ITV.
Yeah, Robert Peston, ITV. Prime Minister, I was very struck by your choice of words. You said that you stand by what you called your initial decision not to join the offensive operations of Israel and America against Iran. Does that mean that decision is subject to review? You're concentrating at the moment on defensive military activity, but could it turn into offensive activity?
Well, as you will understand, we're working with our allies and with the US on this. We've been doing that for some time. The pre-deployment was done in conjunction and in discussion with our allies and with the US. And we have that capacity in the region that we pre-deployed to the region, and we're bolstering that in the way that I've set out today. The US are using the basis to do these strikes into Iran to take out the capability to launch the strikes in the first place. So that is the configuration, that is the understanding and arrangements that we've got in place. Thank you, Robert. Beth, can I come to you?
Oh, thank you. Prime Minister, this escalating war is really frightening people that are watching today. President Trump says it will go on for 4 to 5 weeks. You've just said it will be some time. Do you have any sense of how long it could go on for? Do you agree with President Trump? What's your message to the British people worried about how it's going to affect their lives? Can you give them any reassurance that you'll help them on energy prices? And just secondly, on military operations, there's much unhappiness that military personnel and their families were left unprotected on the Cyprus airbase that was struck at the weekend. What went wrong? And do you apologise to them? Thank you.
Well, Beth, let me set out my number one message, which is that our absolute priority is the safety of our citizens. And that is the focus for all the decisions that I have taken, including the decisions to pre-deploy in the way that I've described, and the decisions we're taking every day in order to deal with the situation on the ground in the region, the consular work to get people safely back home, and also what we're doing within the country, obviously, in relation to the division that can arise in situations like this. In relation to Cyprus, we've obviously had an airbase there for a very long time. There are protective measures in place, have always been in place. It's always been a protected airbase. It's not something new to protect the airbase. We pre-deployed further assets to Cyprus in January and February for that purpose, and we're bolstering that. So I want to be really clear to everybody in Cyprus that we're taking every measure that is needed to protect them, to protect the airbase, along with the other places in the region. Thank you very much, Beth.
Do you think it will go on?
Oh, I'm sorry. In relation to how long it will go on, I do know people are worried. They are going to be worried about the any escalation. I think they can see what's unfolding on their television screens. That will cause them anxiety, understandably. They will be worried about the impact on their own lives that this could have, and those with family and friends in the region will be extremely worried about their family and friends in the region. I absolutely understand that. We are doing everything we can to de-escalate this. I can't give you a time base for this. I don't think anybody can. My strong view is that we need to de-escalate, and ultimately this will have to be a matter of negotiation when it comes to some of the core issues like nuclear capability. Thank you, Beth. Paul McNamara, Channel 4. Paul.
Afternoon, Prime Minister. There are reports that you walked into a meeting, the National Security Council, on Friday with one opinion and had your mind changed by Ed Miliband and others in your cabinet. So is it true that you wanted on Friday to give Americans a precautionary permission in the event of Iranian reprisals to use British bases for defensive action, but had your mind changed by Ed Miliband and other members of your cabinet?
Let me be really clear about this. No request from the US came in the specific terms that we acceded until Saturday afternoon. Saturday afternoon. Well, just hear me out. And therefore, on Friday, there was no concrete decision to be made. The decision had to be made when we had the request. That came in on Saturday. during the course of the afternoon. We're already taking measures in relation to our own capability. That came in on Saturday afternoon, late in the afternoon. We then, as you would have expected, went through the details with the US over the next day and ultimately reached a decision on Sunday, which I announced then on Sunday evening about 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening. But actually on Friday, we didn't have a request from the United States and therefore no decision fell to be made. The decision fell to be made when we had the request. That was Saturday afternoon. We then worked it through. Decision on Sunday, which was a decision of all ministers, unanimous, that we should take the action that I then announced. Thank you very much indeed. Catherine from GB News.
Thank you, Catherine Forster, GB News. Prime Minister, Cyprus, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates and others are being critical of the speed of our response. Have we let our allies and our own people down in the Middle East? We've still got a warship sitting in Portsmouth. And also, you said yesterday how in Munich you said we need to go further and faster on defence spending. But getting to 3%, let alone 3.5%, seems to have been kicked way into the long grass. When is your rhetoric actually going to be matched by the reality of when you're putting money into defence?
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. I know you'll have heard me said a moment ago, we started pre-deploying in January and February our assets to the region to make sure that we had the capability that we needed there. That wasn't an isolated set of decisions. It was done in conjunction with the US, in conjunction with our allies, and we're bolstering that again. And therefore, I can say we're doing everything and have done everything we can at speed to make sure that we are properly protecting our citizens, which was my number one concern. And that's why it's very important that I set out the pre-deployment measures that we took. Can I also say on defence spend, we've obviously already increased our defence spend, with the highest spending now on defence since the Cold War. And I've set out, when I was at NATO summit last year and at Munich this year, that we need to go further and faster, and that's what we'll do. Thank you very much, Catherine. I've got Stephen from The Times. Stephen.
Prime Minister, Donald Trump has suggested that you've ruined the special relationship, that you are no Churchill. On the special relationship, is he right on that? Have you ruined the special relationship?
Look, the special relationship is in operation
Markets are bouncing
off. We're working with the Americans in the deployment from our bases. We are working together in the region. The US and the British working together to protect both the US and the British in joint bases where we're jointly located. And we're sharing intelligence on 24/7 basis in the usual way. That is the special relationship. That is a special relationship in operation. And clearly it's for the President to take decisions that he considers in the national interest, the right decisions for the US. I understand that, I respect that. But equally, it's for me as the British Prime Minister to take decisions that I consider to be in the best interest of the United Kingdom. There's nothing controversial about that. The special relationship is operating right here at an important point. Thank you very much, Stephen. Pippa from The Guardian.
Yes, Prime Minister. Obviously, you said a lot of people are very concerned about this conflict escalating. Has Donald Trump given you any insight into what his plan is for what comes next after the initial bombing phase? And are you convinced he has a plan? And if I can just push on the defence spending point, because increasing in defence spending to 3% of GDP by 2030 would take up all real terms growth, unless, of course, you're raising money elsewhere to pay for it. Are you going to raise money to pay for it, or are you going to make cuts elsewhere?
Firstly, on the risk of escalation, clearly that is a concern for everybody. It will be a concern for everybody who is watching and across the country. And that's why we've been absolutely clear that we need to de-escalate. In relation to discussions with the Americans, obviously they're happening at all levels. I've had discussions with President Trump, but all of my team are having discussions all the time with the Americans about the operation. In relation to defence spending, we've set out our plans for the increase that we've already put in place. I've made commitments at the NATO summit last year and at the Munich conference, and I was clear then that we will need to go further and faster. Thank you very much, Pippa. And Sophie from The Mirror. Sophie.
So the current situation in the Middle East could potentially lead to the displacement of millions of people in the region. Are you expecting this to play out in more asylum claims, including small boat arrivals from the region? And are you concerned that cuts to the international aid budget could impact the UK's ability to handle situations exactly like this? And if I can also just ask, have you spoken to Donald Trump since his criticism of you?
In relation to the situation as develops, obviously, we don't yet know how long this will last. We don't know what the full impact will be, and therefore we'll have to address those considerations as we get to them. And we will, because we're planning both the immediate day-to-day response, but also looking at the further scenarios into the future. In relation to Donald Trump, I spoke to him on Saturday evening this last weekend. Thank you all very much indeed. Thank you.
Right, don't go anywhere. I will send you off to Martyn. I'll send you off to Martyn to his main show of the day. I just wanted to share the situation. This is the flight tracker. This is situation above Iran. You can see some flights from Qatar, some flights from United Arab Emirates are taking off, but the airspace is very restricted in there. Just to put a wider angle, bring you a wider angle. Amprius keeps pushing, keeps going. Congratulations everyone who have invested and who have been following us and who went in Amprius before the earnings call. If you manage to catch the upside as well, if you manage to jump on the rocket, congratulations as well. Almost 18% up after the opening bell. Very, very good. You heard the guidance. Martyn will tell you more about, he will tell you his angle, his opinion on Amprius, and then I will be back in the afternoon before the closing bell show. I'll be back with my deep dive and analysis of Amprius, what they actually do, and why their product is so good. So don't go anywhere. I will send you to Martyn. Let me just check if that's set up. But knowing Martyn, he already does it for me in the background. So if you stay where you are, I will take you to the secret source from Pentagon Batteries. Martyn's take on Amprius Technologies. Thank you very much for joining. I love the earnings call. I booked a day off and it was holiday well spent. So yeah, just to bring you this experience. Yeah, great update. Go to Martyn, he will tell you more, and then I will be back before the closing bell show with more deep dive. That's it from me. Take care of yourselves and each other.